This is John Jackson Miller, and you're listening to the Star Wars Canon Podcast. May the Force be with you.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast, episode number 75. We're 3/4 of the way to 100. Can you believe it? I am your host, Brian Miller, and I'm so glad you've decided to join me to talk about our favorite thing in the world, yet again, Star Wars. And I've got a big show for you tonight, and to help me navigate this episode and to really break down everything that we want to talk about, I've got with me my faithful Wookiee co-pilot, to whom I owe a life debt. I really do, because he's an awesome co-host. Everybody, please welcome Mr. Usef Waly. How's it going, brother?
How's it going? Anyway,
Whoa.
How's it going?
I mean, we can blur that out later.
I showed you a little bit of Wookiee there. Thank you so much. You don't know anybody I life debt at all, but what's going to happen is I am going to be navigating it with you. Navigating it kind of like distant galaxies are navigated.
That's right.
Kind of like how we navigate, traveling all across the universe, my friends. All across the universe.
With or without the Purrgil?
With or without the
With or without the Purrgil. We'll get there one way or another. So,
I love that scene. Okay, I don't want to.
No, yeah, that's fine. Go for it. Go for it. We're here to talk Star Wars. You're gonna hold it.
We had a lot of things to talk about in general with Ahsoka, and everybody's gonna see so much chatter online in all different angles. That there was one theme which consistently popped up, which is like Star Wars doesn't do really good transitions or graphics for like shifting in and out of scenes. Now, obviously, the thing is that when you watch the prequel trilogy, sometimes shifting in between scenes, it does like that typical PowerPoint shifting in between slides, like that sort of like clock turning around thing. Yeah, the whole shift like that. There's like a line in the middle that just spreads right and left sometimes. Some of that, it's like somebody had, like, it's like they brought on Bill Gates as like a software consultant because he had some spare time on his hands. He was like, well, I already have this shit ton of software. You want to just use that? And he was just happy to have the Stormtrooper helmet on, or Clone Trooper or whatever at the time. But yeah, anyway, but these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scenes in Ahsoka series were just absolutely so cool. And in Rogue One, this started back in Rogue One, by the way, when you saw these so cool meshing of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in fact, like, so when Rogue One first started out, every Star Wars movie starts off because, the crawl, and then you're looking out into the empty space, and then it sort of just pans out or zooms, or it doesn't zoom out at all. Something just enters into your frame, which is cool. But then in Rogue One, it was like, boom, you're in it.
Cold open.
There's no crawl, there's no nothing. You're just in this. Yeah, you're just in the story. But then when it starts moving in between scenes and themes, it uses the landscape a little bit, which is sort of easy on the eye. It's very cool. There's nothing noticeable. There's nothing awesome. But at the same time, it's very easy. It's very good. It's excuse me, not easy. I don't mean easy to do. I meant easy on the eye. It's very professional. And Ahsoka, oh my God, it's artistic. It's the other end of the spectrum. It's like it's not just easy. It's extremely noticeable. It's artistic. It's beautiful. And my favorite thing from the last episode in this regard, so when the destroyer, the heads back and it's there and it's looking towards Dathomir, and it's inside its circle, the hyperloop. It's called a hyperloop, right?
I think that's what I'm going to call it. Yeah, hyperspace ring.
Yeah. The hyper ring. Yes. So the ring, and then it's there, and it lines up with the planet, and then it goes smaller and smaller and smaller, and then the music isn't so loud; it's just a deep growl of music, and then we're nearing Dathomir. Oh crap! That was just so good. Just so good.
Love it.
It was so good. Yeah.
Well, we'll get into Ahsoka and everything that because it's a huge episode to unpack. There's a lot to it. And so we'll get into Ahsoka here in just a minute. Before we do, let's get the housekeeping crap out of the way, because I know nobody really wants to hear about the website and nobody wants to hear about any of that. They just want to hear about Ahsoka. So
I want to hear about that.
I thought it was a pretty cool website. You guys can go check it out. It's starwarscanon.net. Make sure to go through and look at, all the timeline stuff. We've got the Legends on there. If you like Legends, we've got Canon on there. I'm still working on that. Hopefully next week I'll be able to say we got her done. So definitely go check it out. You guys can find this show there also and listen every week. And all of that. So that was all the housekeeping I had. Let's get into Ahsoka. So this was the finale episode, of a show that we've waited, 3.5 years for since they announced it. And overall, before we get into the episode itself, if you had to rate this series as a whole, the whole series, on a scale of, let's say 1 to 10, where would it fall on the spectrum for you?
So I don't like doing half ratings, so not like 7.5 or
right.
It's either a 7 or an 8. And I don't personally. I do this thing. I'm quite radical. I take out 7s in my rating, in my 1 to 10 rating, because 7 is always such a neutral zone.
Right.
So if you take out 7, you're either 6, which is not necessarily as high as a 7, or you do 8. So I sort of force myself to give it either a better mark or a lower mark. I would give Ahsoka. It's in between either an 8 or a 9. It's not going to be a 6, but I would ultimately give it an 8. Okay. I'll be honest with you. There were a lot of positives, but I have to, and I cannot be so objective when I'm judging Star Wars shows, because I just have to love Star Wars so much. So I'm quite biased. I already love the how it builds on stuff. I keep mentioning every time we talk about Ahsoka that, because I saw Clone Wars and then I saw Rebels and then I saw Ahsoka recently.
Yeah.
The way Ahsoka's hitting me is so much harder than anybody else, potentially more than other Star Wars fans, because the Star Wars fans may have seen Clone Wars and Rebels way long ago, watched it a couple times, 3 times, so it's not going to hit them in the same way that it hits me or anybody else who's recently watched the shows, because it's fresh. I don't know. I'm just sort of speaking out loud here, but thinking out loud here. But yes. It's an 8. There's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. What about you? Wait, what rating would you have to give it?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I do 7s, and I do half scores once in a while too.
Okay.
But 7.5.
Well, if you would give it a half score, you could yeah.
7.5 would be 7.5 to me is standard. Like 7.5, like you said, that's neutral. Like that's the bar of where it should be, right? That's where everything I think should basically hover. But I feel like this series did a really good job of continuing where Rebels left off. Introducing us to these new characters, Baylan and Shin. We saw more, of Morgan Elsbeth and everything. And so there are a couple gripes I'd have about the show. And they're the same kind of gripe I had about, Book of Boba Fett, and which we can get into in a minute, but I really liked Ahsoka a lot. It really, with a character like Ahsoka, who we've already seen basically from birth until now. We've basically seen her entire life, right? You get to a point with a character where you're like, man, there's nowhere else for her to go. There's no other, there's no other character development coming. There's always room for growth. It's like Anakin told her in that vision she had of the world between worlds, you're never too old to learn, Snips, and so even now, even though, we figured out before we started recording that Ahsoka's like 46, 47 years old, something like that, she's still learning. She's still having these epiphany moments, that's molding her as we go along in her life, in the timeline, you know what I mean? And so what I really like about Ahsoka was that it really did push her character narrative forward, and it really did give her a bit of I have a bug flying around in here. Sorry. But it really did push her character growth forward, and take her to a new place that I wasn't really, I thought she had already achieved, to be honest. And then when you kind of step back and see where she was at the beginning of the show, where she ended up at the end of it, not physically, but as a character, as herself, I thought it was a really cool jump. So, between that and the continuation of Rebels and getting to see everything outside of the Star Wars galaxy and the Purrgil and Ben and, Baylan and Shin and, and Thrawn, obviously, I'm going to give it a solid 8. is what I'm going to give it. So I had a lot of fun with this series. I was smiling like an idiot during several episodes. 3PO walking in had me smiling like a freaking idiot. You know, there was just so many moments in this that were awesome moments. And we can talk about some of the cooler ones in this finale here in a minute. When this episode opens, right, and we get the whole scene with the mothers and Morgan Elsbeth, and they give her the Sword of Talzin, right? Mother Talzin. I lost my mind. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. It was so cool, for them to pull it.
Straight up artifacts being
Perfect.
pulled right now. Like, it's just, yeah.
Loved it. And Kirsty and I both, when we were watching that part at the very beginning, when they said, you shall be rewarded, we were like, she's dead. She's dead. They're going to kill her. Nope. They made her one of the mothers. And I was like, oh, man, all right. That's wildly cool. And then they gave her the Sword of Talzin. I was freaking out.
Double wow, yeah.
Loved it. And just, it was awesome. So, were you excited to finally see some Dathomirian magic? You know, other than just the little stuff?
It was, so Dathomirian magic, when it showed up in Clone Wars, at first it made me feel weird. Like, why are there zombies in Star Wars? But I understood why, because at the time when Clone Wars was coming out, this was completely like nuanced.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, zombies are cool, zombies are interesting.
Yeah.
And it has a place whenever there's deadly or death-related magic. So there's all kinds of magic. Magic centers around life. Magic centers around a force, a hidden force within life, like the Force. Magic which centers around Taoism, the Black Books of Kabbalah, different kinds of jinn and religions and whatever. So it stands to reason that if you have magic in any universe, then you can have other kinds of magic in the same universe.
All right.
Anyway, so zombies in Star Wars, they looked kind of weird in Clone Wars. They looked incredible in Ahsoka. They looked really, really cool. They did not look like zombies, which is exactly the point.
Yeah.
They're not zombies. They're not zombies. They
They're
are
animated
a different kind of
corpses, yeah.
reanimation. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of reanimated corpse. And they're using the Force to use these corpses. They're not bringing back any life forces. They're not bringing back any souls. None of that. It's just reanimating a corpse.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It looked so cool.
Oh, yeah.
It was executed really well. It looked gruesome. They were still kind of dumb, which is kind of the point. I mean, they're not going to be as smart as actual.
Right.
I don't mean dumb as in general. I just meant like they weren't very strategic and smart soldiers, which made sense, which was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't upset with that. Actually, my question is something else. So night troopers, when he said deploy the night troopers, when he deployed the night troopers, were they already animated corpses?
I don't think so. I thought they were.
Exactly.
When we
So
first started talking about it, I thought they were. Yeah, because when Morgan's got them, and the night troopers, and he's like, these are the volunteers, and he's like, do they understand like what's going to happen? And she was like, it's an honor to them. You know what I mean? So they knew they were going on a suicide mission.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I forgot about that.
But no, we were watching that, and they take out all the stormtroopers and everything, and they start to walk out, and Kirsty's like, wouldn't it be awesome if they all just started standing up behind them? And I'm like, don't say that, because that would be amazing. And then all of a sudden here they come, and I'm like,
exactly.
I stood up out of my chair, and I'm standing in front of the TV, and
Ezra,
I'm just like,
has this ever happened before? No.
This is new. Yeah, this is new. But I like how you can see the sheen through the eyepiece. It was awesome. But what was cool was the one death trooper that was fighting Sabine. That part of his helmet had been cut off, and you could see his mouth like,
exactly.
It looked like a zombie mouth.
Good, yeah. It was zombie-ish, but for all intents and purposes, it wasn't actually zombie.
Right.
That sort of zombie-ish because they're still fighting. They're not trying to bite you.
Yeah.
But he was, I want to kill you.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I loved it. I really liked it.
I thought it was awesome. I was really excited to finally see some Dathomirian magic. And I called it last week. I said Thrawn's coming with an army of the undead. And I guarantee that's what's getting ready to happen. That's why they're going to Dathomir. And they got the night, they got the mothers. He's coming with an army of the undead. That's you basically double
those boxes, those coffins.
Yeah, you basically
100%.
if you can raise every one of your dead soldiers from the dead at least once, you've doubled the size of your army. If you think of it that way, you've doubled the size of your army. You've doubled the number of bodies that you can throw at your enemy. You know what I'm saying? And so that's insane to think about. And the fact that they're going to Dathomir, and we're going to see Dathomir for the first time in live action, is so, oh my God, bring it on. So, but
I love Dathomir and Jedi Fallen Order. I can't.
Oh God, yeah, which is cool because if if you've played Fallen Order and Survivor, and even if you've read the Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars novel that takes place in between them, there's a scene in the novel. Spoilers in case you guys haven't read it. There's a scene in the novel where Merrin uses the Night Sister magic to resurrect corpses to fight, and so and Cal's like, whoa, like what the. And so there's a whole scene in there of it, and it's she doesn't like doing it, and she does it as like a last resort. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like a desecration of the undead. You know what I mean? Of the dead. You know, and so, but to see that, and then to see it in live action, and it's like, yeah. And when they started to like twitch and stand up, I was like, yes. I was losing my mind, dude. But this isn't the first time we've seen zombies in Star Wars. We've seen zombies, zombies, quote unquote. When I say zombies, I use the term very loosely. Undead. We've seen undead. The Geonosians in Clone Wars. They had that weird brain parasite. You know, they were basically zombies. But I really, really enjoyed this episode all the way back at the beginning when, you know, Ezra and Ahsoka and Sabine are kind of escorting the little crab guys on the ship. You know, and Ezra's building his new lightsaber, which, by the way, did you hear Hu Yang talking about cool. with the emitter?
Yes.
So cool. And the fact that Ezra made a lightsaber that looked just like Kanan's, that was such an awesome honor. Like, that was such a nice tribute, you know? And to see it, it was so great.
The color and everything.
It was so great. And the fact that he's just like throwing it together, and lightsabers can explode if you don't do it right. And Hu Yang's like, what do you, no, you're making a mess. Like, you know, he's like, I have everything the way I want it. He's like, yeah, unorganized. And I'm like, oh God. So it makes you wonder how many lightsabers were the parts he's got inside that ship. How many lightsabers he could build, how many kyber crystals,
something
everything
like 1,000.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
But it was cool to see Hu Yang doing his Hu Yang thing, you know, and showing Ezra how to build a lightsaber again, because this is only like the third one he's ever built. And but it was really nice. And then when the whole attack happens with the two TIE fighters and the little crab guys, and you know they lose the shuttle basically, right? The shuttle crashes.
What are we calling those little?
I don't know. I don't know if they have a name yet.
Those are curious little penguin-like species, or whatever, turtle-like, crab-like species. Yeah.
I don't know if they have a name yet. I can find out real quick though. We'll just take a good old look at Brother Google here.
Typing.
Stretch. What should I look up? Ahsoka series crab creatures, hermit crab creatures.
New galaxy natives. Something.
The Noti, the Noti. The Noti?
Yes, the Noti.
Is that what it is?
So because I had subtitles on when
I
I watched the last episode, but not this episode, I actually saw that Noti language. So Ezra speaking Noti.
Oh, yes. Okay. I guess I didn't catch that. So the Noti, is that how you pronounce it? Noti, Noti. The Noti, the Noti?
I haven't heard him. I don't remember anybody saying it.
The Naughties. The Naughties.
The Naughties. The Naughties.
But yeah, no, it was
quite naughty.
I guess that's what we're calling them now. So, no, and I like how when they're coming up on the Star Destroyer with the ring, I said all this just to say this part. How Ahsoka's messaging saying, you know, you guys going to be here or not? And Hu Yang's like, he looks over and one of the crabs is like electrocuting itself, and he's like, don't wait on me. just go do what you got to do. Don't wait on me. I like Hu Yang's sense of humor in this. I think he was a shining point in this entire series.
No. Hu Yang, this is what Lucasfilm keeps doing again and again.
Yeah.
They hit home runs with the droids.
Yep.
They just do.
They do.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, every single project that's come out with a new droid, with an exception, at least for me personally, L337. I wasn't a big fan of L337. She was a little abrasive for me. If you liked her, that's great. I'm glad you did. It's just not my cup of tea. But like B2 Emo and Andor was awesome. I loved B2 Emo. That's his name, the little red like trash can droid. That's like it's B2 Emo. B2. You know, and you got BB-8, you got Dio, You know, who else have we had introduced? K2SO.
K2SO.
Yep. You know, we've got Chopper. They did Chopper right, obviously. Like, every time they do a new droid.
Chopper in the finale was so, not cute is not the word, but like they didn't overdo it. Like, oh my God, like they didn't do that. And that was good. Like I liked that bit. Like I appreciated it.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't ruin the moment.
Right.
Of him. It was like, it was similar to a dog sensing.
Yeah, that's its owner, and it's like, wait a second. Yeah. Who else have we had? BD. We've had BD1 from the Jedi Fallen Order, you know, the Jedi series. They're hitting it out of the park with the droids. You're absolutely. And now, granted, this is a droid that we already had, and we only had like 1 or 2 episodes of Hu Yang in Clone Wars. Yeah. But now we've been able to expand on that and have really shown him, you know, and I loved it. And I think he had a couple of he stood out in a couple of episodes. You know, like the Rock'em Sock'em robots that he had under the ship that one, you know, and he really did come. I loved it. So, but his sense of humor is there, and he's just, once you've lived 26,000 years, like nothing surprises you anymore, you know. And he's got that like, don't wait on me, you know. He's just like, we're not coming. But it was cool. What did you think?
Those little bits as well. They humanized them a little bit.
They did
a little bit. Which they do with droids in general. That little bit where, so here's something I might go off on a tiny bit of a digression or tangent.
Go for it.
The thing is that whenever you see droids in films or robots in films, you'll always have this the film and the writers will treat it differently. Are they humanizing the droids or not? And the way you'll be able to see it, I think, is the droid speaking when humans aren't around?
Mm-hmm.
Is it making a note? And if it does, is it just for camera, or is it just or is it primarily for the other characters that are in the story?
Oh, you mean just speaking in general?
Just speaking, like an actual vocal, like an actual speech.
Right.
So, for example, if a protocol droid like 3PO or the waitress droid on the Trade Federation's ships, whatever, if she speaks alone out loud to herself, they're not humanizing it. That's just a droid. That's just how it's done. That's just how those protocol droids act.
Right.
However, if R2-D2 starts beeping out and making these noises when no one else is around, that's weird. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
He'll never really beep out unless there's other characters around him. Whenever he's alone, he doesn't really do anything. Even when we watched him alone, he's something.
I would just contribute that to like processing. Like just making noises like he's processing, yeah.
Yeah, but that's communication as well. So
right.
So when Hu Yang watches them, you know, he's just crashed with a ship because they're trying to fix it. So the other characters or heroes are off, they're running off onto those little wolf thingies.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember their names. That's very cool, by the way. But wolf thingies. But yeah, so they're just running off, and then he just looks over and he says, "May the force be with you."
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sort of thing. That's very humanizing.
Yeah.
That's very like, this isn't a droid. This is an old master who's living with us a long, long time. And the only way he's going to be able to live with us this long and stay in the story in this way is if he's not human. Okay, or not alive, period. He's a robot. He's a droid. But they humanize him a little bit in that, well, a droid can never really wish that the Force be with anyone because a droid can't really have a connection with the Force because he's mechanical. He's not. There's no life force within him. But he still does it, and he still wishes it, and so it's very cool. Sorry to go.
No, you're good.
Tangent, but it's very cool. I enjoy this. Humanization of Hu Yang. I felt like it was in place. That's what I mean. Because other characters, kind of like how you said, you know, with Elle, that you know she was a little bit abrasive. So when you humanized her, it rubbed you the wrong way, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas with K2SO, when you humanized them with Alan Tudyk, it was just so funny, and it just came off in a different way entirely.
There's a fresh one for you again.
Exactly. Yeah. That bit was amazing. Where are you taking these prisoners?
To prison.
He's a prisoner.
These are prisoners. Yeah.
To prison. I'm going to prison them. These prisoners in prison.
Prison.
get me out of this scenario now, please. Yes. It was just so dang funny. Like just like
I forgot about that line.
Like,
these are prisoners. Yeah, I forgot about that line. I love that line. These are prisoners. You're right. They are. Like he's not catching up with the situation. Like it's actually going to work in his favor. And he's like, these are prisoners. You're right. I'm taking them to imprison them in prison.
But yeah, so that was very humanizing. That was very humanizing, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. BD1 acting scared, kind of like a scared little side. That's humanizing in a little bit. You know, it's not just like, oh shit, the robot does not want to get shot. No. It's actual humanizing because it's an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's being scared. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, I digress a little bit. But yeah, so sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work. With Hu Yang, it worked. He's a great character.
Loved it. Are we surprised at all about Thrawn being as frustrated as he was that Ahsoka and them made as much progress as they did to get to the ship? Because he looked very irritated when they first got to the spire and they got through the door. He's bombard them, and he's like, all right.
His blue face was turning red.
Right, yeah. And so
no, not really, but yeah.
But that led us into that moment with the Death Troopers, with what I'm calling the Death Troopers, the Night Troopers or whatever. Loved it. We finally got to see Sabine
use the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally.
My wife was saying this to me. I was like, is she going to do it? Is she going to do it? Because it's kind of a defining thing.
Yeah.
I know that technically it's a little bit predictable that they really could have predicted that it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
And somebody steps in to help her just by hitting
Ahsoka
the guy
come up and
yeah,
right.
Exactly right. And then she could use it again later or not use it, whatever. But yes, the fact that she uses it is cool. I'm happy that she uses it. And I felt that she would have used it eventually before the end of the show. And she uses it twice.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice.
Lightsaber? Was that not the coolest? That was an awesome kill.
And then she force pushes Ezra all the way across that huge 5-kilometer gap.
Not even to it, but like lifted him back up because he wasn't making it all the way, and she lifted him up, and he still didn't get him all the way. She still didn't get him all the way. He had to like grab on and like climb,
like just before the ledge.
But it was.
If you didn't wait those few seconds,
Yeah, and I wondered when she saw Ahsoka coming and Ahsoka was getting, surrounded, with Morgan Elspeth there. I wondered. I was like, she's not going to go. She's not going to go. She's going to stay and help Ahsoka, and that's exactly what ended up happening. And all Ezra can do is just stand there and watch, and this whole series, when you think about it, was basically one big Uno reverse card. Because it was it was basically a big reverse card. It was, Ezra and Thrawn were the only two from that galaxy in this one, and then by the time it switched, everybody who went stayed and everybody who was there left. You know what I mean? So it was basically a big Uno reverse. They just flipped galaxies basically, and just null and voided everything Ezra went through to give
switched places. Yes, that's what they did. They switched places.
That's all they did. That's all they did.
Yeah.
Are you glad they killed off Morgan Elspeth?
So in general, see, this is one of the bits where I don't necessarily agree with this show because no, I didn't like that they killed her off. I understand the open-endedness of the show, but the show seemed quite slow to me in general. And building up Morgan Elsbeth in the way they did, and then I felt that they underutilized her in the end. I felt that they built her up so mysteriously and so cool in the first 2 episodes, and making her so powerful. I understand the way Morgan Elsbeth was beaten is cool. I understand that. I agree with it. I just feel like, because I'm such an advocate for villains, I don't like having a villain be built up so much and then just being defeated so soon.
Right.
Maybe not so easily. She wasn't defeated easily.
Oh no, that was a hell of a fight.
Exactly, but she was defeated so soon. Like really? That's. I haven't had a chance to like her yet. Yeah. So there's clearly the reason why is because there's all the other mothers, sisters, mothers of Dathomir, and there's Thrawn. So there's the more important one. So she serves the higher purpose of Thrawn, and I understand that. I just felt like I could have used a little bit more of her, but I understand that's the way they wanted the story to go. This is the season. That's how the season ends. This baddie ends, but the other baddie wins. So yeah. So that's to answer your question.
I'm kind of glad she's gone, to be honest.
Okay.
Because it's kind of
you get her out of the way.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost like she realized. I'd like to think she realized at the end that she was just basically a pawn, and that she wasn't as important as she thought she was. You know what I mean? She served her purpose, and then she was discarded of. You know, because, I mean, Thrawn was going to leave her behind one way or another. He didn't care whether she survived or not. He was going to leave her behind. You know, somebody has to stay and buy us some time. And she was like, I understand. And so she stayed behind. He knew that was going to be, whether, you know, when he got back to the original galaxy, either way, she was staying. He wasn't going to have her. You know what I mean? So he didn't care one way. She was a pawn. And by the way, real quick, R.I.P. Ahsoka's Shoto lightsaber, R.I.P. That thing was. I couldn't believe she lost that. How long she's had it since, you know, the Ahsoka novel, and I can't believe that she lost that. Anyway, R.I.P. lightsaber hilt, because I hate watching lightsabers get destroyed. I was gutted when I saw the Darksaber get crushed in Mando. I was gutted, absolutely gutted. And so R.I.P. Ahsoka's short lightsaber. So anyway, her taking out Morgan, I thought, was kind of poetic for Morgan. And, you know, she keeps building herself up. She's, you know, she gets rescued, and then, you know, they actually make it to the galaxy, and then she gets promoted. You know, she gets, promoted at work, and then she dies. You know what I mean? Like, so it was very poetic for her, I think. Thrawn does not know Ezra came back with him.
No, he doesn't.
Thrawn does not know. He has no idea that somebody made it onto that ship. But which begs the question:
Ezra, you know, he just took the uniform and he stowawayed himself on.
Where did he get the ship from? Was it Thrawn's Star Destroyer that he got it off of? And when did he leave the Star Destroyer to go meet with the New Republic?
It's not
Army?
It's not just the ship. It's an X-wing, isn't it?
It wasn't an X-wing. It was some kind of like Republic shuttle or something. Imperial shuttle.
An X-wing.
It was some Imperial shuttle, like old school Imperial shuttle.
No. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know when he departed or whatever, but yeah, they basically just one big
could have dropped himself on using an escape pod onto some sort of recent planet or something, navigating that, or is that too far fetched? I don't know.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that maybe he dropped out of the Star Destroyer in hyperspace. It wouldn't be the first time he's done that. They did it in Rebels with the Phantom off the Ghost, So
yeah,
I mean. I don't know. It was just kind of weird that the shuttle just kind of appeared out of nowhere when the last time you saw him, he was on the Star Destroyer. But him picking up the communicator when the guy's talking to the night trooper, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, this is number so copy." It was so Rebels. That was so Rebels. He's like,
absolutely,
"Thanks for the heads
100%.
up," and he picks him up and starts. I'm like, that was so Rebels. That was so pure Ezra from season 2 of Rebels.
100%.
Loved it. So, Thrawn made it back. I liked his little speech to Ahsoka right at the last minute when he's like hail them, and he's talking about how he never met her in person and he regrets it, and now he fears they never would, and how he knew Anakin Skywalker, how he fought, and he used that to beat Ahsoka. He actually called her a Ronin. I don't know if you picked that up. Did you notice that? He actually, a Ronin like you.
Perhaps this is a galaxy that deserves a Ronin, or this is a galaxy where a Ronin like you belongs. So cool. Such a cool concept.
I don't know how you feel about the topic. I know there are several people out there that feel very strongly about a certain term when it comes to Jedi, and that's the term gray Jedi. I'm not a fan of the term gray Jedi. I know other people are like, you can't be a Jedi if you're gray, right? You're just a Force user at that point. Could we replace the term gray Jedi with Ronin at this point?
I think we should.
Would that seem appropriate?
I don't like the term gray Jedi either because of the same idea. The reason why gray Jedi is such a popular term in general is because of the what if theory for Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
As in Qui-Gon Jinn, if you guys don't, if you don't really know about this concept, Qui-Gon at the end of Phantom Menace is basically at ends with the Order.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends? What happens if Qui-Gon doesn't meet Darth Maul or defeats Darth Maul? What does he do with Anakin? He was going to take him away from the Council, so he was basically was going to leave the Jedi behind.
Yeah.
the Jedi Order behind. And he would have gone off on his own to train Anakin. So he would have gone rogue.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have been a Jedi anymore, because a Jedi is someone who's not just using the Force, light side of the Force, he's also in the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm.
This is a faction. It's not necessarily a political faction. It's not necessarily, it's
Right.
a faction. It's a group. So him not being with the Jedi does not mean that he's a gray Jedi. No, it means that he's something else. It means not a Jedi, period. Boom. So him not subscribing to the dark side of the Force would not have made him something. Him subscribing to the light side. So a gray Jedi is meant to be someone who is not indifferent about what's going on in the universe, but he doesn't go about things the way the Jedi would, and he doesn't subscribe to the dark side of the Force.
Yeah.
So Ronin is a very good way to describe Ahsoka and that kind of person, because Ronin historically, George Lucas's and Lucasfilms and Dave Filoni's now inspiration from Japanese culture and samurai culture to have inspired so much in Force users and Jedi Knights and Sith and everything is so cool. It's so impressive. It's so brilliant. It's so sexy in its own way. It's absolutely, it carries over. That's the way they designed it, and it's so cool. They are the coolest warriors in history, in a certain sense. Well, it depends on what you define as cool,
right,
which we'll be talking about later with the film break. But yes, cool. Ronin are, they're kind of rogue. They have their own missions. They're doing things their own way. They don't subscribe to the way the Emperor wants things done. They're not evil because they don't necessarily hurt people, but they may decide to inflict their own justice upon people if they see, because they subscribe to a certain code of honor. I'm using the word subscribe a lot, maybe it's because we want you all to subscribe to our podcast. But yes, anyway. That being said, I love the term Ronin, and I really liked him using it. It's the first time a proper historical reference or a historical label has actually been used in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Not that, I haven't seen other kinds of ways to actually see that in Star Wars, other kinds of terms or anything like that. But I liked it. How about you?
I loved it. I think it's a good center ground, because I know there's people that like the term gray Jedi too. And I get where you're coming from. A Jedi that uses the dark side, because what was Kyle Katarn in the video games, right? Because he's got the Force lightning and the choke, and so I was like, okay, so yeah, you kind of, you don't really have to have a term for, but Ronin, I think that's a great term for him. I think it's cool. And then also, we got another term out of this series, the Bakken Jedi, that Balin was talking about, how basically Jedi trained in the wild, and honestly, this is just me. I think I prefer Jedi trained in the wild more than I do than what we saw in the prequels. I think it's grittier, and it's,
Exactly. They were kind of constrained.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
I loved it. And, instead of wearing Jedi robes, you got like the cool smuggler's outfit, and it looks cool. They're cool, I like the term Bakken Jedi, and I like the term Ronin. I think that's really cool. One of the biggest things I wanted to talk about with this episode, though, was Balin and Shin and how this episode ended. Because Balin and Shin had zero screen time in this episode except for like the last 30 seconds.
Last snippet.
Let's talk about Shin first, because Balin's going to open up a huge can of worms. Let's talk about Shin first. She went to meet with the Raiders, right? Is she wanting to lead the Raiders? Is that kind of the impression I got with her holding the saber up? And
that's what I got as well. Exactly.
Okay.
It's kind of like a challenge or a call to arms or something like that. It's kind of like that.
Okay. And then, with Ahsoka and Sabine staying there with the Nati, whatever. And before we get into Balin, let's talk about our boy coming back real quick as the Force Ghost. Seeing Anakin as the Force Ghost one last time. I'm assuming one last time, at least for now. What did that do to you? To your soul?
It was heartwarming and heart-wrenching at the same time.
Yes.
Very
bittersweet.
Yes, I'd wished I'd seen more of that in the show. I'd wished I'd seen him interact as a Force Ghost, because I still don't know. So now the show's over, or the season is over. I still don't know what the F happened in that episode. Episode what, 5? Or 6?
With the world between worlds.
With whatever that was, with whatever that was, I still don't understand it. I'm not sure, because now we know it wasn't a Force Ghost in that episode.
Yeah,
because that was a Force Ghost in the last episode.
Yeah,
exactly, and that's what we thought then as well. There was no halo around the character, and now we're still not closer to understanding what happened during that episode, because was it a manipulation of the Force? Was she hallucinating?
I think
was it his Force ghost reaching out and doing this in that area, so it just doesn't show as a Force as a Force ghost, but it was still him. You know what I mean?
The only thing I can think of is that he basically came to her in a dream, right? Because, like, think of it this way, like, you know, for example, and I don't know where people stand on this kind of topic or whatnot, with ghosts and, you know, everything like that. And, you know, I've talked a little bit about, you know, kind of, you know,
yes.
Right. You know, Kirsty's dad passed away, you know, just over a year ago. And there's been several times where he, you know, she's had dreams about him and she feels like he's come to her in her dreams and talking to her, telling her, I'm okay.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about me. You know, I'm fine. But he wasn't a ghost. You know, he was just there in the dream. And then there are times, you know, weird stuff has happened around our house in the last, because he died in the house. You know, he died 6 foot away from where I'm sitting right now. And so weird stuff has happened in this house since since before he died. But we've had weird stuff happen here enough to go, huh, that was definitely weird.
I understand. Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's a difference between Anakin coming to her in, let's say, a dream when she needed it, between physically coming from the Force. You know what I'm saying? That's just my interpretation of it.
No, I understand completely, yeah.
But the only thing that gives me pause about that theory is that Jason was able to hear the lightsabers when he stood on the shore. That's the only thing that gives me pause about that. Unless he had some connection with Ahsoka and he could just feel the same. If the power of the dream or the vision was so strong, right,
so he could
kind of
connect
pick up
into
on, right.
Using the Force, yeah.
So that's the only thing I can really think of, and that's the only thing that really makes sense in my head. That wasn't actual. I mean, it was Anakin, but it wasn't his Force ghost proper. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of his essence coming to see her in, you know, in a dream. And whatnot, because I think she was floating in that water the whole time. It's not like she got magically transported somewhere and then magically transported back into the water. I think she was.
It wasn't like she was in the water physically, actually having a lightsaber duel. She was somewhere else, but it was through the Force.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I think all of it was in her head. Honestly, I think it was just I think it was a dream, but I think it was a real dream. Does that make sense? Like.
No, it does. It does. But we're gonna have to. Do you think we're gonna get a proper explanation about this?
I hope
like
Dave Filoni will come out and say something.
You know, like those Filoni interviews.
Yeah, he'll say something. He'll come out and explain it, and then we'll all go, "Oh, that makes total sense." Okay, cool. But it was nice seeing Anakin in his Force Ghost. And you know, I also was looking. He had his dark robes on again. He didn't have the white robes from at the end of Return of the Jedi.
No. He had the dark robes on. Yeah,
he
didn't have the brown robes, the white robes on.
What I saw online, the explanation behind that was, at this point now, Anakin has truly become himself. I haven't read the, from a certain point of view, story yet from Return of the Jedi about why he had, because I know there's an explanation on why he had the cream-colored robes as the ghost, and because I remember somebody telling me that he was even kind of surprised that he had those robes on, but to have the dark robes now, I read somewhere that somebody said it was kind of a gift from the Force, that now he truly has embraced himself and who he is, and that is actually the real Anakin Skywalker. Like, actually who he is, what he represents, what he is, everything he's done, everything, he became, everything he turned away from, everything. It's all there, and he truly is himself now, and I like that. I think that's a great way to leave Anakin off. If we never see Anakin again, I think it's a great place to leave him. Especially
it's a beautiful thing to say.
I thought so, and especially considering, the way Hayden was treated with the prequels and everything, and now he's got all this love now, because now he's popped up in the Obi-Wan series as, a flashback of himself and as Vader. He's popped up in the Ahsoka series for 4 episodes, if you count the little tag at the end of, where he was reintroduced. I think he's getting the love that he's always deserved, and I've always wanted to see a Hayden Christensen Anakin Skywalker that wasn't directed by George Lucas. I've always wanted to see that, and I think it worked. I absolutely loved Anakin in this series. And another thing I think the series did really well was bridge the gap between Anakin and Vader. I think it did a really, really great job showing that they are the same person.
Yeah.
Because when you see Anakin and then you see Vader, and it's just a quick change, right? I mean, he looks like Anakin, and
because you don't get to see mean Anakin at all.
Yes, exactly.
You don't get to,
the Nightfall Anakin. So you gotta get that balance. Now they actually do feel like the same person to me. You know,
Yeah.
that actually is him. So I thought it was great. Let's talk about Balin, because this is going to be the can of worms that this is the big thing. And all for a 30-second scene with zero dialogue in it. And it's just spawned this entire conversation online about where do we go from here? What was that in the distance? He was standing on the Mortis statue. What's he doing? What do you think he's doing, Usef? And go.
I have no idea what he's doing. The Mortis statues are brilliant.
I love it.
Balin is a wonderful actor. Ray Stevenson, rest in peace. It was a wonderful actor.
Yep.
Balin is a great character. And so I was talking to a buddy of mine, one of my best friends, and he really liked Ahsoka on the whole, but he had the same kind of things that I was complaining to him about, just like pace. Pace was a little bit slower. But I think so. Time travel is not necessarily a thing in Star Wars yet.
Right. Time travel proper. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Time travel proper, because technically Ahsoka time travels a little bit.
Kind of. At least exits. She at least exits time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And if anybody time traveled, it was Ezra when he reached in to grab her.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So the thing is that my friend and I were talking about an upcoming show or movie leading into the origins of the Force. We know that Balin is actively searching for that.
Mm-hmm.
That may be where he's trying to end up. I'm not saying that that's where we're going to see him end up. Just saying we have no idea what's going to happen, especially the fact that Ray Stevenson's passed away, the actor's passed away. So what are they going to do? Is it going to be they're going to get a stand-in and they're going to CGI his face and his voice and whatever, and that's kind of daunting. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But the idea is that, you know, if that's what Balin is doing, it sounds amazing to me in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That if he's off looking over there into the distance, I'm going to ask you this question: what is Abeloth?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to talk about that during this episode, because I've actually got Wikipedia pulled up right now. I'm not a huge Legends guy. I've known about Abeloth. I've heard of her before, but I didn't know all the details.
I have no idea what it is in the first place.
Oh God, this is cool. So, and it's weird. It's weird. We're about to get in some weird Star Wars here. Okay, you ready for weird? Because this is weird. Richard J told me
dressed in weird shit, so I'm weird.
Richard J actually filled me in on a lot of info on her and kind of gave me the lowdown. And like I said, I'd known about her, but
I thought Abeloth was a place.
Her.
Oh, never mind.
It is a her.
Oh.
And so it's interesting. So I'm going to read this straight off of Wikipedia. You guys can go check this out on your own. I'm on starwars.fandom.com/wiki/Abeloth. That's where I'm at. This is a character that popped up in the EU after the whole Mortis arc of Clone Wars came out. And I think Jay said it was in the new Jedi Order series, if I'm not mistaken, is what he said. But it says, Abeloth, self-styled as the beloved Queen of the Stars and also known as the Bringer of Chaos, was an extremely powerful Force entity. Her dark side powers and immortality derived from her being corrupted by drinking from the font of power and bathing in the pool of knowledge. She first lived as the servant, a mortal woman who served the powerful ones on a jungle planet over 100,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. So the same planet that the Mortis arc took place on, that pyramid looking, that's the planet. She was a servant to them. Throughout her life, she became the mother. She kept the peace between the father's warring son and daughter and became a loving member of the family. Unfortunately, she was still mortal and grew old while the father and their children lived on. And she feared she would lose her precious family. In a desperate attempt to hold on to the life she so loved, she drank from the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge. Her actions corrupted her, transforming the mother into the twisted, immortal entity known as Abeloth. When the father discovered her crime, he departed the planet with his children and left Abeloth stranded. The son and daughter enlisted the help of Keelik, I think is how you say it, of the Keelik hives from Alderaan, using them as workers to create massive technological artifacts such as Centerpoint Station and Sinkhole Station to imprison Abeloth. According to the Keelik, I'm not even trying to pronounce that word, hive, Abeloth managed to escape her prison whenever the current of the Force was altered and the flow of time changed. Each time she escaped, the son and the daughter would return to the Keeliks and defeat Abeloth, locking her back in her prison. This cycle repeated itself for thousands of years until the death of the Ones in 21 BBY. So during the Clone Wars, that's when she was finally able to come free. When Jason Solo fell to the dark side in 40 ABY and became the Sith Lord Darth Caedus, I think is how you say his name, in an attempt to change...
Jason Solo became a Sith Lord?
He did, man. There's a lot of weird stuff in Legends. In an attempt to change his vision from a future where the Sith ruled over the Throne of Balance and his daughter, Alana, he unintentionally awoke Abeloth. She began to escape from her prison with the destruction of Centerpoint Station during Caedus' war against the Jedi, which threw the galaxy into turmoil. Abeloth was discovered and hunted down by Luke Skywalker and his son Ben Skywalker, as well as the lost tribe of the Sith. She sounds awesome. I haven't read this story. I'm just reading this off Wikipedia. This is all I know of her, and this is absolutely wild. And she looks awesome. She looks freaking demonic. Like,
so
she's got a wide
Baylan
grin.
Is looking for Abeloth, and she's on this planet.
I'm wondering if that's what's going on. Because I saw somewhere, I don't remember, maybe not. I thought I saw somewhere that she always appeared in a gold color. She was always in this vestige of gold. And so when you see that gold like glint off in the distance and the father statue's pointing towards it, like, and that's why I'm wondering if that's what it is. I don't know if that's what it is. Like I said, I've never read the stories. I need to read the series now because I'm interested. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I'm wondering, is he trying to just get to Mortis? Does Baylan want to sit on the throne of balance?
Definitely trying. I am 100% sure that he wants to drink from the fountain of knowledge himself.
Yeah.
I am 100% sure that is what he wants.
That's what he was talking about. For us, power.
Yes.
He wants to literally...
That is power. And knowledge is power.
He talked about how there was this cycle. How, there'd be the Republic and then the Empire and now the New Republic. And it's just this cycle and he wants to end it. How else to end it except other than control the Force itself? Or destroy it? Does he want to destroy it? Does he want to completely wipe out the Force? You see what I'm saying?
I think he wants to control it. I think he wants to be in a position where he can make things. I think he wants to be in a position where. So this is we were having a little bit talk about power, dictatorships and power and whatever before the podcast, before this episode. I think Anakin in himself, I had this conversation with somebody on the Star Wars fan page in Egypt as well, the Egyptian Star Wars fan page on Facebook. Somebody was saying Anakin turned bad because he was lustful for power. And I immediately jumped in. I said, no, that's not why he turned. These were all building blocks, but what pushed him over the edge was his love and his protective instincts.
Yeah. He
was so passionate and protective that he would do effing anything, even if it meant, cutting off Mace Windu's arm and subjecting himself to the powers of this new dark mentor.
Yeah.
And there were building blocks to that, and he wasn't necessarily a dark mentor. He was already a mentor, but wasn't necessarily dark. All of a sudden, to him, he wasn't that dark. He was like, "You're the Sith Lord." "You are? I must do something." And then he was like, "I won't. I'll go talk to them. I must go talk to them." It wasn't like he wasn't seeing him as dark yet. Whatever. Anyway, my point is that when Anakin spoke about power, he was speaking very honestly and very plainly with Padme. There should be someone to make them make things the way they should be.
Yeah.
They should be made to see things the way, because he genuinely has good intentions. He doesn't want to be in power. He wants to be He wants to potentially have this position of power, or for somebody to have this position of power. It wasn't necessarily himself.
Right.
But he started thinking that he's the man for the job because he wants to do something good. He wants to be a positive impact because he doesn't like the way things are. Because he doesn't like the way innocents are getting squashed and greed is taking over everything that we don't like about the world.
Right.
One of us. I think Balin is the same way. I think Balin is Ronan in this way. I think Balin is Gray in this way. He is willing to use the dark side of the Force, not because he's willing to subjugate hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of people, but because what he wants to do is create things the way they should be. He's a Templar.
Mm-hmm.
He's, for all of you guys who Assassin's Creed lovers up in here, right here. Yep.
Yeah. I'm so excited
He's
for
a
tomorrow.
Yes.
Bring it on.
Oh, I've already got Mirage on the PlayStation, but it's not. I don't have it on now. I'm waiting to finish Jedi Survivor. But yeah, anyway, the difference between Assassins and Templar.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him? There he is.
No, I'm here. Is that Assassins are such pro freedom that even if it's chaotic, doesn't matter. You let people do whatever they want, even if it's extremely, extremely chaotic.
Yeah.
There must be justice in the world, but that should also be reached in a free, fair way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Templars are like, no, what the F are you talking about? If we can arrange freedom, then we should do it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the problem with that is that there's a lot of room for corruption in there. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. But so Balin is this kind of thing where, yes, he knows power corrupts, and he's not in the power to be corrupt. He's in it for exactly as you say. He's in it because potentially when he's in the Force, he could either dismantle it or control it, and then just fix it the way he seems it to be correct. And he deems himself worthy enough. Balin definitely has this aura about himself. Exactly. See, without even him saying it, we know what we're talking.
Yeah.
We both understand each other. When I say that, you're like, yeah, of course he does. He has this self-respect. He carries himself with a certain way. He is a knight in himself. Yeah. And I don't mean a knight like a Jedi. I mean a knight like our kind of knight. Like a Templar knight. Like a proper beacon of honor knight.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he does work with the devil to achieve it, doesn't matter because the ends will justify the means. Because the ends there, he'll get there, and he'll get to such a core within the Force. That's without going too long on this. That's what I think, because it's all speculation at this point. This is what I think he's doing. This is the path that I think he's on. Where it ends up taking him, I don't know. Whether it's meeting Abeloth or becoming Abeloth or becoming the same sort of character as Abeloth. Is it significant that all three Mortis statues are there, but the head of the light side of the Force, the daughter, I can't remember her name now, is chopped off? Is that significant, or is that just there are three?
I don't know. I don't know if it's symbolic or not.
We saw her owl.
Yeah,
we saw her owl fly off.
Right. We saw Morai. And honestly, if you think back to that arc, right, Ahsoka died. She died in that, and then they used the life essence of the daughter and put it into Ahsoka to basically bring her back. So she's got this weird connection with this Morai, right? Which is that owl. It's like I guess it's the Force essence of the daughter. Is that
absolutely?
Well, okay, so I'm wondering if that's not symbolic of her being gone, of her, not being in that form necessarily anymore, and it makes you wonder: did the father die? I don't remember that. Did he die in Clone Wars?
I don't remember that either.
I don't remember. I need to watch it again. I know the son didn't. I know the son was still alive.
No, that's the whole point.
The
son is alive and kicking, and he will never die. That sort of thing. That
right.
Evil, well, not evil, but that it remains. Evil remains, and power, corruption remains.
Yeah.
He's not evil per se, but he is the dark side.
Yeah,
dark side is not always evil. The dark side is just all encompassing.
Right,
it's different.
Right.
Yeah, twisted.
Evil is a point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like Palpatine told was it Anakin that he said that to? He said something about, evil is a point of view, Anakin, and so I I think that's something you got to take into account too. But I think he's just trying to find the throne. I think you nailed it. I think he wants to control the Force for how he sees fit, to make things the way he thinks they should be, because he's very set in his ways right now that, the Force is causing all of this. You got the Jedi, and then you got the Sith, and then you got the Jedi again, and so I think that's exactly what he's after. And like you said, I think he thinks he's worthy enough. He thinks he's the one that can do it. So yeah, I think that's exactly what they're going for. I thought it was really appropriate too that the final time you see Ray Stevenson, he's on the hand of God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, God's pointing out. I thought that was kind of nice. I thought that was, I don't think they meant to do that by any means, but I thought that was kind of ironic. You know what I mean? But I thought it was a really cool send off for him. I'm assuming that if we were to get an Ahsoka season 2, I don't know that we are. I know they haven't ordered it yet. I saw that today.
We don't know that they are.
Yeah, they said that if they do it, it'll be before the Dave Filoni movie.
Yeah.
So that's telling me that movie's off a ways. It's still 4 or 5 years away. Which sucks, because that means I have to eat good for the next 5 years.
Sucks.
Crap, I'm going to be 40 before this thing comes out. And so I think if we ever got an Ahsoka season 2, excuse me, it's going to be that story of Baylan, Shin, in that galaxy. That's what Ahsoka season 2 is going to be. All the Thrawn stuff is going to get picked up with Mando season 4 and with, maybe Skeleton Crew. That's when everything's going to start. All the dominoes are going to start falling for the New Republic, right? So that whole part of that story shifted from this series to that series, basically. But are you cool with? Look, I don't want them to CG Ray Stevenson. I don't want him to. He did an amazing job. He
Fantastic.
Brought to life this brand new character that everybody loves. I'm clamoring for a Black Series figure of this guy. I absolutely love. If I ever cosplay as a Star Wars character, it's going to be Baylan Skoll. Absolutely adore that character. I love him. And what he brought to that character. It's such a shame he's not here to see it. That everybody
100%.
is so in love with his character.
100%.
You have to recast him. And look, I'm cool with it. Like it's
I was just about to say I'm not. I don't know if I am. Well, I'm not sure that I'm not, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, he's such a cool and influential actor as that character. That's the thing. Like, it's kind of a weird statement, I suppose, but I feel this way. I feel like some actors, because we've experienced a few characters in general being recast by their actors just because. I don't know, they pass it like Dumbledore in Harry Potter. Yeah. Harry Potter to me is iconic, by the way. Like, the importance of Harry Potter in my childhood is massive.
Same.
Same. Absolutely.
Same.
So freaking Albus Dumbledore was recast.
Yeah.
That's insane, right? Like, you didn't get it right or something? No. The actor passed away. So that's a hell of a good reason to need to do it, especially back then, You
got a very different Dumbledore, too. You got
not just that. If you think about it, when the first time, maybe the first time you and I saw episode 3, Star Wars, first time you and I saw Prisoner of Azkaban, the third film, we were like, this is weird. I don't like this Dumbledore. No, he seems too awkward. He seems no. He's not as poignant as the previous Dumbledore. He's not as this. But then. When you watch Dumbledore later, you're like, actually, the first Dumbledore couldn't have done all this.
Yeah.
He couldn't have faced off with Voldemort. He was too frail for that.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different. So it's just how influential is this actor for this character?
Right.
And Ray Stevenson is Baylan. And I'm not sure that anybody else could come in and do this job. That's
disagree.
why I'm just hesitant. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I'm hesitant to rush to answer because
I don't think
it's weird.
CGIing
is incredible. I'm with you on this. CGIing is extremely weird.
Yes.
I am happy that those few scenes of Leia, of Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, rest her soul, was as few scenes as they needed to be in Episode 9. Sure, I don't like Episode 9, period, but. There's a lot, those scenes in Episode 9 They had to be there.
Yeah.
And they couldn't be anybody else. They couldn't recast her.
Right.
So they had to be there. As few as they were, that's exactly as much as they could do. They couldn't do a syllable more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was more than enough. That was enough. Let's just say that it wasn't more. That was enough, and that was just the right amount.
Yeah. I
So
don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's something they're gonna rush to do. I don't think they're gonna rush to recast.
No.
I don't think they're gonna rush
I'm
to
sure
make a
this
decision.
is a huge. I don't know how these guys. They're much smarter than I am. They're much better at the job than I do. They're either extremely hesitant and they have no idea what to do, and this is an incredible painkiller, or they already no. We've made a decision. It's a hard decision, but this is the way we're going to do.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do it. Let's just take decisions, throw them by, throw these problems in the backseat and just keep moving forward. We need to take decisions and keep moving, because this is what Bob Iger does. I don't know if you've seen his masterclass. I haven't seen that. I've seen highlights of it. He's fantastic. This guy. His main thing, like his underlying tone, it's like a given to him. Oh no, you need to make the decisions like now.
Yeah.
Like there's no argument there. But anyway, this is about how you make decisions, not what's it. You're gonna have to make a decision. So that's the thing. Some people, in 99% of people in the world, our problems in our lives, including myself. And let me not talk about the rest of humanity. Let me talk about myself. I'm not trying to be too generalizing here. The being decisive is an issue. With myself and with plenty of others, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
This needs a decisive, firm, if whatever decision we make, if we do it right, it will be the right decision.
Right. And whatever decision they make, stick to it. Stand behind it. Don't second guess yourself and change your mind later. Yeah. Commit to it. Yeah. I get the whole CGing with characters. Like if we have, they needed a young Luke for Book of Boba Fett,
I forgot about that. Yes,
and for Mando, it looked kind of janky. It looked a little, but I thought they did a really good job in Book of Boba Fett with it. And it's not going to be perfect, right? We know that's not the real Mark Hamill, because we know Mark Hamill is older than it. You know what I mean? So we know, and that's why it's like, But let's say, for example, my son Jensen, when he grows up. And God forbid Mark Hamill's gone by then. Like, God forbid. Please don't do that to us. But let's say, he's gone by the time we get to, where Jensen may want to start watching Star Wars. And he gets to that point, he's not going to know any different. He's going to be like, oh, it's Luke Skywalker. Like it's because he's never seen old Mark Hamill. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know. Like, to us, it's unnatural because we know.
What you mean.
But I get them doing the CG stuff with characters on certain time periods. I get it. With like if they do Luke and Leia and Han in this Heir to the Empire movie, to me, I feel like that needs to be done. But then at the same time, because I'm of the mindset it would be so weird to have a recast of the big three for the movie where you bring the big three back for the first time. Like to me that would just be weird to have them all recast. But then at the same time, you look at somebody like Mon Mothma, who was played by one actress for all the prequel stuff, and all of Andor, and then all of a sudden it's a different woman for Return of the Jedi, and then the other woman picks back up after that and just keeps playing her for Ahsoka. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get the character is bigger than the actor, right?
Well, rarely
that's
do
where
you
I'm at.
See the same woman reincarnated in history in such a short span of time that the woman is just an almost identical copy of a woman that she's replacing.
Yeah,
30 years later.
That's true too. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
You're not wrong.
She's almost a carbon copy.
But like
I
try to keep in mind that the character is bigger than the actor.
Yeah,
and
I understand.
And like it's like. It's hard for me to swallow that pill with big characters like Han, Luke, and Leia. But to me, in my opinion, they've already shown that they're going to do the de-aging thing for the big three. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. Because otherwise they would have recast Luke for Mando and Book of Boba Fett. Instead of spending all the money to CG him, they didn't recast him. They spent the money to CG it. So that tells me that's the path they're going on. And some of the comments Kathleen Kennedy has made about young Han Solo, Alden playing a young Han Solo. Maybe that wasn't the way to go, And so I think they're kind of trigger shy depending on the character itself on recasting or CG. But for somebody like Balin, since he's only had one outing so far, and don't get me wrong, as great as he is, don't get me wrong, and no matter who they cast, it won't be as good as what...
He's massive.
Yeah, it won't be as good as what Rey did. But the character's bigger than the actor. If you want to keep seeing the character, you're almost going to have to, especially a character that's going to be a main character in season 2 of Ahsoka. He may end up being the main villain. You can't CG every scene. You know how expensive that's going to, you know what I mean? Like for Luke, it made sense in book because it was only one episode, you know, and Mando, it was just like a 5-minute scene. So for an entire series to be the villain, though, gosh, you know, that's Leia and Rogue One, it made sense because it was quick. Tarkin, there was only a couple shots, made sense. You know what I mean? Like it was just real quick. But if you're the main villain in an entire series, they're almost going to have to recast him.
Yeah.
But it goes back. It just goes back to my mentality of that the character is bigger than the actor. If we want to see more Baylan, we're going to have to swallow that pill, and it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a horse pill. It's going to be the size of a hockey puck, and thank God it's not a suppository. We're going to have to swallow that pill. We're going to have to. So I see them recasting him. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely dead wrong. I would like season 2 of Ahsoka may come up and they may just CG him. I don't know, but I think that's way too expensive to do.
Do you mean? Wait, hang on. Let me ask you this: when you say you see him recasting them, do you mean that you would predict that they would recast him, or do you mean that you're comfortable with them recasting him? Or both?
I'm going to say both because I mean it's one of those situations where it is what it is. You know, I'm a realist in real life. I'm a very realistic person. My wife calls me a pessimist, but I'm not. I'm a realist. I'm basically a Ronin. So I'm that middle gray area, right, between optimist and pessimist. I'm a realist. I see things the way they are. And it sucks. It's a crappy hand, you know, that Star Wars got dealt. And it's a crappy hand that Rey got dealt. You know, that he's not here. Don't get me wrong, that's tragic. And I'm not putting, you know, the needs of Star Wars before, you know, his death. I'm not doing that.
No, I understand.
Not by a long shot.
Nobody would think that.
It's a crappy hand, you know, to have a character. Now, had he not been a fan favorite and he just kind of got written off, wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But you've set him up for something huge. You know, as a character, and then just all of a sudden you lost him, and nobody could bank on that. You never know when that's going to happen. So it's
life. That's life.
Yeah, it's just it's happened, and now the fact of the matter is we have to deal with it and adjust, and you know, and figure out what we're going to do. And no matter what, it's going to be a lose-lose. No matter which way they go, there's going to be people complaining. You know, oh, the CG looks weird. Oh, he doesn't play a good Baylan. Like it's no matter what, it's going to be a lose-lose. So that's why I said choose which way they're going to go. Even if they choose to CG him, which I prefer to recast, stick with it. Stand behind it. Stand behind your decision. Say this is what we decided to do. This is why we're going with it. You don't like it? Too bad. We're doing it. Like, you know. And so I think that's the stance they need to take because there's something big coming with Baylan. He's going to be a huge part of a season 2 of Ahsoka if they do one. But if they don't do one. If they don't do season 2 of Ahsoka, do you think they're going to end up picking this up in a novel somewhere?
So, that's what I want to happen because I want to see a novel in between the Ahsoka series seasons as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure who it's going to follow. It might be all. It probably won't be Thrawn and Ezra.
No,
it'll probably be just based in that other galaxy.
Yeah.
It probably won't even be Hera as well, seeing Ezra and talking to him. It will probably just be in that galaxy. So it will be the 3 perspectives, the 3 zones.
Mm-hmm.
The first zone being Ahsoka and Sabine. Second zone with Huyang. Second zone being Shin and her. She has really, really raw instincts. I want to see more about that.
Animalistic.
Yes.
Predatory, yes.
Primal.
Yes, that's a good word.
Predatorial primal instincts. And for her to just jump in on those raiders and take the lead, take the helm on those, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then the third zone would, of course, be Baylan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, because Balin's path, the way he implies his path is so different. It's so cool that he's, like, sort of setting it up, saying, like, you know, Shin's almost saying, so what, you're abandoning me? And he's like, no. It's just, listen, no abandonment here. It's just everybody's on a different path. That's just the way life is. Everybody's on a different path.
Yeah.
So that's this path is going to go that way. I think that needs its own novel, its own perspective, because it can't go in parallel. Because Ahsoka's trying to go back there.
Yeah.
As is Shin, technically. She wants to take Ahsoka out. So Ahsoka's going to be a huge trophy for her. Sabine and Ahsoka and Huyang and all of them. And Shin's not going to be happy with this guy. Shin wants to go back. She wants to go see what's what. You know, she wants to take a place. Whether it's by Thrawn, whether it's by someone else. Yeah. Shin has the makings of what Asajj Ventress never could have done.
Yes.
See, that's the comparison side that I get to see. If I had to compare them, that's who I'd have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She's very you had it very primal, very animalistic. And I think Baylan had her on a leash most of the time.
Yes, had her on and now
there's no leash.
No leash.
Yeah.
Boom. That's going to be really interesting.
And you keep in mind too what Ahsoka said. You know, she's like, we're right where we need to be, and she looks back at the Nati, you know, the Noti or whatever they're called. She looks back at them, and we're right where we need to be. And Shin's, you know, got these raiders. Is she going to keep attacking these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, and Ahsoka and Sabine are supposed to protect them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's. I think you have a good point. I think that whole story would make a really good novel. And I think, honestly, if the series were to leave off right now, I don't know what their plans are, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they really are going to bring Abeloth into it, if that's what they're doing, or, you know, the Mortis stuff. I would rather see that on a screen, live action, than read it in a book, honestly.
I would 100% rather see it in the screen.
It'd be so much cheaper to write.
But I think that they wouldn't. I think if they were to, what's the word? Not condemn. I think if they gave Baylan's route, like they would finish it completely, but that would be in a novel and comic, that would be interesting. Because then they could flesh it out in a way, in such a detailed way that a live action might not be able to do.
Right.
Because live actions they're so subjected to budgets and marketing and entertainment and everything that maybe people wouldn't want to see a series specific just for Baylan.
Right.
Because he's going off in a different direction than Ahsoka. And, you know, see, here's the thing. The way we're going to see Acolyte.
Yeah.
That makes me... Acolyte is, I think, is going to be quite experimental. Because not a lot of people even know... It's
going to be different than anything.
It's going to be very different. Not a lot of people even know that Star Wars has novels.
Yeah.
And that there's High Republic novels. And that there's all this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Grandma that's watching the shows with you on Thanksgiving doesn't know that there's 100 novels out so far.
And then, so for, you know, for us to now see a show, the way Acolyte's going to be and the way the character and where it's set and everything, it's kind of experimental. I'm almost scared that they don't go through with it because I'd love for them to go through that. I hope they're already filming it because
Acolyte. They've got Acolyte in the can. I think
they're starting to film it to start of next year or mid next year.
They've already shown a trailer at I think Celebration. I think they already showed the trailer.
Yeah. I saw that. But I mean like proper. But that wasn't the trailer, like a full-on trailer.
Yeah,
they didn't have like
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
I wasn't supposed to, but I've seen it.
Oh, you weren't.
I wasn't supposed to see it. No.
No. But I mean, the thing
is,
that, like, I hope they finish filming it like imminently, because I just want to make sure that they actually go through with it. Because if they finish filming it, then they're going to go through with it.
Yeah.
If they end up doing, if Acolyte's a one-off, if it's a spinning off thing, if it's something that's meant to introduce us to a whole different era, I hope that they do the same with Baylan and they get the guts to do it. And they might have to recast them so that they go in for a long haul.
Right.
What's the word? Investigating the origins of the Force sounds amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh, to see more, and you know, I'm dead wrong because I think somebody asked me on the Newsnet Live if we were going to do the Mortis stuff, and I was like, nah, I don't think they're going to go back to that. I don't think they're going to touch on that mystery anymore. I think Dave Filoni said
immediately 3 more,
and then 3 weeks later, I'm just like, no, Brian was dead wrong on that. I got a dead ringer on a couple of my predictions for this show, but then that one I was just dead wrong. So I don't get them all right, but I definitely got a couple of them right. Like I like 2.5 of them right. I got 2.5 predictions right on that show.
Well,
so.
when you get them right, you almost get them down to the exact dialogue, too.
Oh, I did! On the whole Anakin popping up at the end of the episode, I had it down to the dialogue. I was so mad. For those of you that don't know, on Newsnet Live that week, the week before the episode popped up where Anakin and the World Between Worlds came in for the first time, one of the predictions I made was that one of them was that if Merrick got killed, he was gonna melt or something like the Inquisitor did in Tales of the Jedi. He exploded green, so I got that one close. And then the other one was, I was like, I'm gonna be so mad if at the end of this episode, if like Ahsoka gets her butt kicked in a lightsaber battle, and then she's like down on herself and she's mad, and all of a sudden she hears behind her, "Hey, Snips," and I'm like, and then you pans back and you see Anakin behind her, and then it cuts and it's gonna have to wait a week. Exactly what happened, and I'm like,
almost exactly.
I was like,
to the T.
son of a! I was so mad, dude. I was so mad. But I nailed it. I was really mad that I got that right. I was really hoping that I would not get that right, and I did. I was so mad. But anyway, anything else you want to add about Ahsoka before we move on to the villain bracket, good buddy?
I mean, the only things that I wanted to discuss in terms of the negatives of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the show's over, at first I was really super excited to see Sabine, and the actress. She was grown on. Like, I wasn't upset about the actress at all. Didn't feel like it was bad. I realized though when the show finished what it was that was annoying me about the character. Every character had the positives and negatives. Even Ezra, even Ahsoka, Rosario, even all of them. Like, every character, how it showed, there was a few positives, few negatives. I'll run through them a little bit, and I want your input on them.
Sure.
On these opinions, because I might be doing them a bit of a disjustice. So I think maybe I just want to be coherent with my thoughts here. Ahsoka, let's start with her, because she is such an interesting character. Because as a character, right? In Clone Wars, she's the very definition of feisty. If anybody wants to look up feisty in the dictionary, just show them a few episodes of Clone Wars. Boom.
Yeah.
She's spirited. She's wild. She's wonderful. She's fun. She's happy. She's not bubbly happy. She's an optimistic, happy person. She gets shit done. She's a little bit childish, and yet she's so headstrong that she's mature, sort of thing. Wow, like, brilliant. I saw none of that in Ahsoka show, in Ahsoka series, and I truly mean none of it. She wasn't as feisty. She was dialed down. She didn't seem tired, but she seemed old. I want to see that energy, that vigor. I understand she's over 40. We all get. I've already got a bed back. I'm not even 32 yet. But seriously, Ahsoka is still, even after she sort of gets back to herself, and Anakin sort of sets her straight. Well, Anakin, that episode. Well, not. I don't mean he sets her straight as in she was going off wrong. I just mean like, yeah, she's supposed to be more of herself and all that. She's not. I don't see the same things. I don't see the same standout qualities that I saw before. Righteousness, absolutely. So when we saw her in Mando, she was really cool. Mm-hmm. She was really, really cool. And the way she took on Grogu, the way she took on that situation, and the way she attacked that outpost, and, like, vicious. Like, whoa, I haven't seen her be this vicious. Not even in Rebels. Not even, because I saw Rebels after that episode. I saw that episode, because I saw Rebels late. You know what I mean? I was behind on that. But that transition in between from Rebels to what she is now, there's a big gap there for me. So there's positives and negatives there. This Ahsoka, I like this Ahsoka, but I don't love this Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. And there's two reasons for that. First, because I'm biased to the original Ahsoka that I saw in Clone Wars and Rebels, but also because I can't see myself loving this kind of character as a hero, period. I want to see more of this hero. Mm-hmm. If I'm watching this hero for the first time, what do I have in common with this hero? Where is this hero facing? What's going on? Where is that bubbliness? Where's that? If I saw not bubbliness, but if I saw that switch back to a bit more optimism, a bit more feist, a bit more of this after that episode for episode 5, oh, here she is. Mm-hmm. She's back. That's how I would feel with hindsight. That's how I would. I'm not sure if I'm going overboard or not, but I mean, maybe I'm being too idealistic here. Ezra and Sabine. Hera, I love Hera. Everything about her, fantastic. There's a few things I don't necessarily like about her, but that's just it's not me liking it, not liking about her or the actress. It's about the transition from animation to live action. That's
right?
I know that. Sabine and Ezra, my. I can't put my finger on what's wrong with Ezra, but he just doesn't feel the same. And I understand, like, he was a kid, so the transition between being a kid to not being a kid, it's a bigger gap than what I'm talking about with Ahsoka in terms of the character development. So it should be a bigger difference. I understand that. It's just so different. I'm not talking about him looking like Moses or Jesus. It's fine. Like, he can look like whatever he looks like. It's fine. Having a beard. He lives out in the wild. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to be clean shaven. It's cool. And he's so fun. And exactly as you said, like that bit at the end of the episode, it felt exactly like Ezra of old of Rebels 2. It's great. Absolutely great. Maybe I would have wanted him to crack a few more jokes, be a little bit funner, but yeah, but Clone Wars was a little bit more childish. Okay, so maybe I should just dial it down and ease up on the criticism. Maybe I should. Sabine, my problem with Sabine, ultimately, the way they painted her, and I'm sorry to do this, you may not want to speak to me again. You may be like, no, Usef, seriously, you need to go off and calm down and go. You need to go to sleep. It's getting late over there, buddy. Just you ain't going cuckoo right now. They're painting Sabine like she's some kind of Disney brat.
Mm-hmm.
There's that undertone all across, and I couldn't put my finger on it at first. At first, I liked it because she was rebellious and she's wild and stuff. After a while, she's just too Disney. She's just too. She's
exhausting.
Got this thing. She's not. Yes, she's just that kind of. She's just that kind of. She's not even Star Warsy. I know this is gonna sound weird. Star Wars characters aren't very American. They're quite TV. They're quite TV. I can't explain this to you enough. When I, as a foreigner, even though I went to international schools, I've had American and British teachers. I lived in the UK with Americans, with Brits, with Venezuelans and Colombians and Frenchies and Germans and Chinese people. I've had this international experience. Some people are effing astounded whenever they realize that I'm not American myself. Whenever they realize I'm not American myself. And so television characters, Star Wars characters, they're not that American.
Yeah.
But Sabine is extremely American, extremely Disney, extremely. I'm half expecting her to show up on YouTube with Miley Cyrus in Hannah Montana or something like that, and that kind of thing. I might be going overboard, but that's just the undertone. I'm not saying that that's all of the characters. I do like Sabine. I like that. I don't feel like the acting is awkward. I don't feel that. Other people feel like, no. The actress is really awkward. She's just not there for me. No, I don't feel that. I just feel like the way the character is portrayed or is written, it's like a script thing or like a it's way too. There's an element of Disney brat about it. I love Thrawn. I just wanted Thrawn to be more martial artsy because he was like that he was like that before.
Well, he's getting older too.
He is getting older too, but he's gained the weight too. So you've seen Tarkin not gain the weight, so hopefully.
Well, yeah, I mean,
no, it's fine. But that's not the main issue though. The other characters, the mothers of Dathomir, those sisters of Dathomir, those were amazing. Of course, Balin and Shin, outstanding villains. The other negatives that I have with the show is just that they're quite. The episodes were quite slow. It took a while to get us somewhere. I understand the slow build up. I understand keeping me on the edge of my F and C episode to episode. Absolutely. But or keeping me wanting more. But I mean, now that it's over, I'm like, no, I really didn't get enough. Like seriously, I should have gotten more. Come on, guys. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. That's my rant. What do you think?
Let me counter you for a second, because
please.
Let's look at the difference between the live action Anakin that we got in, let's say, episode 3, or we can say 2 and 3, and then look at the Anakin we got in Clone Wars. Okay?
Sure.
2 very different Anakins, right? Both the same character, but we saw a side of Anakin with Clone Wars, that kind of playful side, that kind of cracking jokes, very powerful. You didn't see a whole lot of that in episode 3. Right?
We saw that a little bit. We saw 50% of that in the Anakin, right up to killing Darth Tyrannus.
A little bit, yeah. Just there was a little bit of it.
and carrying Anakin on his shoulder. Sorry, Master, this is where the fun begins.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. But think of it this way, and this is what I use whenever, this is the litmus test I use whenever we do a translation from animation to live action. What if the live action version had come first, and then the animation version came later? Would you look at the animation version and say that it was a good animated version of the live action?
Of younger Ahsoka.
Right,
of whatever.
right. Let's say we got the Ahsoka series first, and we didn't know the whole story of Ezra and Kanan and Hera and all that. Let's say we didn't see Rebels yet. Let's say Ahsoka came out first, and we knew there was a backstory there. Kind of like with Episode 4, we knew the Clone Wars had happened, but nobody had ever seen it. We knew there was a history there, right, when the original Star Wars came out. Let's say this story came out first. And let's say the story came out back in 2015, whenever Rebels aired, right? And then now we're getting a prequel series called Star Wars Rebels that's got the same characters in it. Would you go, oh yeah, that's a good, origin story. That's a really good Ezra. The kid that voices him does a really good job. Oh, Sabine, yeah, she's badass. Like, the voice actress is doing a really good job on her, portraying that really artsy rebel, and everything like that. Would you look at it that way? Because remember, with Star Wars, everything's from a certain point of view, right? Perspective is everything. So what if the projects had come out the other way around? Would you still feel the way you feel?
Kind of. Okay.
Kind of? Okay, that's fine.
No,
that's fine.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, actually. Because so if I had to look back at specifically these few characters that I just sort of criticized or complained about a little bit and how they felt,
mm-hmm.
I think I might feel that Ahsoka is actually being silly. Like, oh, look at that. Ahsoka's really childish in this.
Could be.
I might feel that way. However, towards the end of Clone Wars, especially the last two seasons,
mm-hmm.
when Ahsoka's
you'd start
in
to
there,
see that transition into...
Yeah, especially with the, what's the word? The shock or whatever of Order 66 and everything that's going on over there, everything. Because that'll put some hair on your chest. Like, that'll age you 20, 30, 40 years easy.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter how old you are. As we've seen also in Bad Batch with the kid and everything. But yeah, I understand what you mean.
But the other thing I was going to say was this. You were talking about Ahsoka, how, she bubbly and everything like that from when we saw her in Rebels to when we saw her, now.
What kind of bubbly? Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Like bubbly. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. A little more optimistic, a little more, I get
feisty,
what I get what you're saying. Think about the last time we saw her in Rebels, though. Not the epilogue where she's Ahsoka the White and she's got the staff. Not that part. The last time we saw Ahsoka, really saw her, not the World Between Worlds, because that is kind of included in this part, was when she found out for sure that Anakin had become Darth Vader. Up to that point, she had suspicion, but she wasn't dead sure that he was the one that became Vader. After that fight, she knew. She knew as soon as she heard Ahsoka, and she turned around and Anakin, and that's when she realized that was actually him.
That was heart-wrenching. And
then, the whole World Between Worlds thing happened where she's like, you can't save your master, I can't save mine. And she's still she's still in the shock of that, right? Of dealing with that. But then you don't see her again at all in the canon timeline until she pops up in Mandalorian when she's looking for Morgan Elspeth. And you only see her for the duration of one mission, trying to get to Morgan. And her, you see what her motivations are. You don't, that whole time she was dealing with that guilt that she was really dealing with at the beginning of Ahsoka of Anakin becoming Vader. What could I have done different? All these years she was telling herself, what could I have done different if had I not left? Maybe he wouldn't have turned, and all this stuff. And it took all the way up into Ahsoka to that breaking point where she finally tapped into the dark side for the first time, right? Where she really tapped into it when she thought Sabine was dead. She used the Force to push Shin against that rock. She used the dark side for just a second. I think that was the breaking point for Ahsoka when she finally got her butt kicked and Anakin had to step in that dream and be like, all right, here we go. As you said, here's where the fun begins. You're never too old to learn. You need to learn this lesson. You need to come to terms with this now. And I think that's why she was so different. You see Ahsoka and Mando, but you don't really see a whole lot of Ahsoka dealing with Ahsoka stuff. she's on this mission. She's like, her mission is getting to Morgan Elspeth. That's what she's after. And she's answering the questions about Grogu, and she's like, I'm not going to train him. You know, she said, I'm not going to train him. And that kind of leads back to her, you know, maybe she was worried about training Grogu and her, you know, turning to the dark side or, you know, something, you know, along those lines. Because Anakin told her during that flashback scene, you're everything I am. You know, everything. Yeah. And maybe she was worried, you know, because of what happened to her master, she was going to end up going down a path kind of like that. So she didn't want to train Grogu. So she had him take him to, you know, I can't think of the name of the planet right now. That's driving me crazy. Anyway, the Oracle Stone, the Seeing Stone that they said on Tython. They took him to Tython. And so I think it's pretty consistent with Ahsoka, actually. When you look at what we've seen, if you put everything in chronological order, like, yeah, you're right. She's all bubbly. She's this youngling. I'm going to learn how to use, you know, the Force. I'm going to become a Jedi. I'm in a war. I'm going to get some experience. And then she, you know, betrayed by the Jedi Order, and then she goes off on her own and then becomes a Ronin. And then, you know, everything she's hiding from the Order. Order 66 happens. And then she's hiding from the Order, you know, from the Empire for so long. And then she pops out as Rebels. And even then you could tell she had some battle scars and some wear and tear on her from everything she'd been through. And then the whole thing with Anakin and Vader, and then going into Mando, and now, you know, Ahsoka. I think it's a natural progression. That's just me, though. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying
I understand. No, I understand.
But to me, it makes sense.
I mean, I think I do agree with a lot of what you have to say. That it carries over in a sensical fashion, like it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that if she had restored a little bit of that feist after that episode with Anakin,
mm-hmm.
That would have been perfect. A little bit. I'm not saying completely.
Yeah.
Because she is older. She's been through shit and everything.
Yeah.
But if that sort of just restores a little bit of her, just be like, oh my God, I was just with Anakin. Like, yeah, Sabine, come over here. Like, just be yourself. Just do what I was able. Let me try to bring that out of you. So that, if that sense was there, oh my God, that would have been
yeah,
icing on cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have been so good. Yeah.
No, I get where you're coming from, though. I get it.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah, I'm not.
I do.
I am making sense. I think, right?
You are. No, you're not crazy.
It's not like my disappointment is. My disappointment is not unfounded, right?
No. I think you definitely made some good points. I think you really. Okay, it's just. Cool. I think it's just up to, you know, interpretation of.
It is harsh.
Of whoever
I understand
sees,
that I'm being harsh a little bit. I do know
and that's
that.
fine. But I think it all comes down to, you know, from a certain point of view. I think all of it is from, you know, from different points of view and different perspectives. So I think that's
it's
what
similar
it is.
To how I'm kind of harsh on Luke, because I am a little bit harsh on Luke being estranged.
Yeah.
At the start of episode 7 and episode 8. Like I like judge him negatively. I'm like, no, you like how I condemn this choice of yours, man. Like, why? How could you do that? Whereas actually, I mean, the fucking shit that he's been through. Oh my God, he's just like, listen, just give me some time to myself here, people.
Yeah.
I understand. It makes sense. Like you could argue this way, you could argue this way. So I'm just like holding them to. I hold Luke to a higher standard, whereas here I'm asking that Ahsoka be more herself, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I get it.
What about Sabine and Ezra? What do you think there?
So no, I think it translated well. I think they were older in this. People grow up, personalities change a little bit. You know, I think it worked. You know, had we seen a bunch of stuff in between, you know, Rebels and Ahsoka, you know, and seen the characters more often and kind of seen a little more of a slow transition into that, I don't think we'd have had an issue with it. But I think it's just because, you know, it's like when you, like my son, for example, to me, he looks identical to the day he was born. Even though he's going on 4, because I see him every day. I don't see the active change as he's growing up. You know what I mean? But to somebody who hasn't seen him since the day he was born, they're going to see him completely different person. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think had we seen more of Ezra and Sabine in between, kind of leading up to this point, I think it would have felt more natural. But to see from here to here, yeah, it's going to seem a little different. And some of it's going to get lost in translation from animation. Some of that's going to. But I think that's a whole part of, actors bringing their own kind of spin to the character and bringing what they've got to it, and doing that. Like I said, the character is bigger than the actor. Is kind of where I'm
absolutely
looking at that.
absolutely.
So, but no, I think you're founded in everything you said.
No. I mean, as I said, like, I don't think the actress was a big problem for me. Not in the slightest. I just felt like the way the character was portrayed was kind of like a Disney brat sort of thing.
Oh no, I don't disagree with
I
you.
mean, yeah, there's that element. Not like that's what she is. I don't mean that at all. I just mean there's an element of that.
Yeah.
That's just what I think.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Oh, hey, let's move on to the villain bracket. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, I was having a mini stroke for a second. Let's move on to the villain bracket, man. Real quick, Usef, tell us what this villain bracket is about.
So this villain bracket, in a way in which I try to get more in touch with Star Wars, is due to the fact that I absolutely love villains. I love, the villain, the other side of the hero sort of thing. So in any universe, in any fantasy, we always see the hero. He will utilize the magic or the specialty or the best things about the story to really be the champion of the story, champion of the downtrodden, or do something amazing or whatever. Yeah. Usually the villain is trying to do his own thing. Sometimes these things can they can resonate with us. Sometimes they can even make sense, whether it's Thanos, whether it's the other kinds of characters which you may actually have something in common with, or these villains can just be simply, they can reciprocate villains in our own lives, actual people that, in our own lives that are negative and whatever. They can impact us in these different ways. The villain is something that I think without a good villain, you don't get a good story. So you can't have a great story without having a great villain. Mm-hmm. And you can't have an absolutely great story without having a legendary villain. The better the villain, the better the story in my eyes. So I thought we'd talk about villains in Star Wars. Since I absolutely love, Star Wars and I love the Force, I wanted to see villains in Star Wars, whether they use the Force or not, and figure out, just how cool they are. I just love looking and delving into these characters. It's not about how powerful they are, because anybody could write a character that's powerful. It's about appreciating how cool the character is. And that's something for us all to share, really. How cool is a character? We should all vote on it. We should all talk about it. We should all pit them up against each other or talk about them just for ourselves. And as we were just saying a little bit ago, just see it from different points of view. So this is it. We've categorized villains into different categories. And currently we're on military generals, or military figures, excuse me. And so what was the last bracket? General Grievous versus Gallius Rex.
That's right. It was Gallius Rex and General Grievous, and you guys voted on our YouTube channel. You guys voted on our Facebook. And the winner this week is General Grievous. I kind of figured that was the way it was going to go. But I was surprised last week.
Gallius Rex is lesser known.
Yeah, he is. And General Grievous is just sick looking. You know what I mean? The spindly legs, the forearms, and, the awesome, like as you said last week, the awesome COVID cough that he has. It was a robot with a COVID. No, he's awesome. So General Grievous won this week, and you guys voted awesome outcomes. So this week we've got 4 names left in the military characters. We've got 4 left. This week we're going to be picking 2 more. Actually, we're going to be picking them right now. And then next week, whichever 2 are left, that'll be the villain bracket for next week. So last week you said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could get this wheel up where everybody could see it? Well, guess what, guys? We got the wheel up where we can see it. So this is the wheel that I've been using. It's Wheel-O Names. We put all the wheels in, or all the names in on this wheel. And this way you guys know that we're not making this up. We're not just putting them together. You guys know we're actually randomly picking these. So this week we're going to pick a couple. You ready, Usef?
Brian loves his wheel. Yes,
I love my wheel. I love it. I'm going to color it with Star Wars colors next week. Here we go. First name this week is going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. That seems appropriate. Grand Admiral Thrawn. And let's see who you guys are going to be putting up against Thrawn. I know who I want it to be, but we're going to see. Oh, General Pride. General Pride is the one that we're going to be going up against this time. So you guys know who Thrawn is. You guys know who General Pride is. Definitely head over. We're not going to waste you guys' time talking about him at all. I think I already know who's going to end up winning this one, Usef. Who are you going to vote for in this bracket?
It's definitely gonna be that guy who we only saw in one film who we didn't really actually like.
Oh
At the
man,
end of the no,
I was gonna say he went out with a bang. No pun intended. He went out when you see him like fling out of the
actually literally.
When you see that explosion throw him through the viewport, I was like, "Ooh, God!" Like, he got it. So yeah, Grand Admiral Thrawn and General Pride. Head over to our Facebook page.
No, it's most likely going to be Thrawn.
It probably is. And over to our YouTube, and you guys vote not who would win in a fight, but who is the cooler character. I'm going to vote for Thrawn also. So head over there. Let us know, guys. Sound off. Even leave a comment on why you're picking them. If you're picking Pride, I'm not giving you crap over it. Tell us why. Comment below and let us know why you're picking General Pride. Let us know why you're picking General Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Let us know. I want to hear what you guys' thoughts on that, especially Thrawn. I was hoping we were going to put Thrawn up against Tarkin. I was really hoping that's what we were going to end up doing, but it didn't work out that way. Stupid wheel. But anyway, that's the villain bracket for this week. So head over there, vote. You guys can vote multiple times. Go to the different platforms, vote however many times you want. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify, you can scroll on down. There should be a poll there you guys can vote on also. And we'll let you guys know the winner next week. And then next week, we already know the villain bracket is going to be Rey, Sloane, and Tarkin, which is actually a pretty good match-off, honestly, because they're both pretty cool. But we'll talk about them next week. So go vote on that poll, and we'll talk about the winner next week. Let's get into mailbag. We've got a single mailbag question for this week. It's a very simple one. We've already been going an hour and 45, and I know it's late where you're at, Usef. So we'll hammer out this mailbag question real quick, and then we will call it.
It's a good one.
It's a good question.
Really good
How do you guys get a question on the Star Wars Canon Podcast? You simply email it to us at starwarscanonpodcast@gmail.com. I'll go through and pick out some really good ones like we got for this week, and we'll throw them up and we'll answer them right here to the best of our ability. And then we can't answer all of them. There's sometimes we get stumped and we don't have a good answer for something. So try and stump us. That'd be fun. So this week, let me pull it up here. Let me pull up my show notes here. This week, our question comes from Nathan White. And Nathan writes in and simply says, do you consider AHSOKA more of a Skywalker than Rey? Cheers. Thanks for the question. He's like, yeah, let's just drop this very controversial question. Cheers. Good luck. And then pop smoke.
Cheers, Nathan, for the pipe bomb you just threw in.
The pipe bomb.
Emotional pipe bomb.
So it's a good question, though. And I feel like it's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question.
Amazing question, especially with all the Rey hate out there. Especially with the justified Rey, like I don't hate Rey. I just really dislike. It's cringeworthy, almost a lot of stuff that's written with her.
Yeah,
it's an amazing question. Yeah.
So what is that? All you got? It's a good question.
That's what I got.
I'll start. I don't care. Me an opinion? No, Brian doesn't have opinions about stuff. I don't want to sit here and actively hate on Star Wars. I don't want to. You guys know how I feel about the sequels. I've covered it several times. I don't want to beat a dead horse. And you guys know how I feel about Rey and everything there. And I'm going to try to be as completely objective about this as I can because like my heart is just screaming. And that's the answer I'm going with. But it's not because my heart's screaming it. It's because to me, objectively, AHSOKA is more of a Skywalker than Rey. I think AHSOKA would have more right to the name of Skywalker than Rey. The Skywalkers were somebody Rey only knew for basically a year. She met Luke Skywalker once, hung out with him for a week, and then she knew Leia. She was trained by Leia for a week, or for a year, I mean. And so I get why they gave Rey the Skywalker name. But I also don't at the same time. I feel like she should have embraced that Palpatine name because Leia's the one that told her.
I don't get why. I don't get
why
why
get
they
it.
gave her.
Leia's the one that told her, don't be afraid of who you are. Embrace who you are. You're a Palpatine. Be a Palpatine, So AHSOKA, I think she was way closer to a Skywalker than Rey ever was. And I think AHSOKA learned more and more was passed down to her from the Skywalker side than Rey ever got. Am I crazy?
No, I completely agree with you. I don't. So you know how there's like, even if you don't agree with someone, you can just sort of see how they got there.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Rey being a Skywalker, and I don't see how they got there.
You're not even holding back. You're just like, no, bad. I don't.
I really,
I agree.
Really, I don't.
I
see
agree.
It. I swear, I don't see how they got there because seriously, like, so Rey, I like Rey. I really do. Like Episode 7 and Episode 8, I like Rey. Rey's very honest. Rey's very light. She's really, really, really on this spectrum.
I know, almost
where
annoyingly
Kylo Ren,
so. Yeah.
Yes, where Snoke and Kylo Ren want power and want to exceed all expectations of power and supreme leadership and everything and the Empire. They want to surpass that by far.
Mm-hmm.
They have no problems decimating, not just killing and destroying, decimating anything in their path.
Yeah.
Rey is all about protecting others, light, life, be nice, be kind. I've suffered. I don't want anyone to suffer an ounce of what I've suffered or what anybody else has suffered or whatever it is, whether that's emotional suffering or financial suffering or whatever. She was poor. She couldn't meet, whatever it was. Anyway, Rey then, learning and becoming a Jedi or a light force user. I suppose Jedi is the right term.
Mm-hmm.
And learning from Luke a little bit. She did learn. And then, truly sort of becoming within the Skywalker vision, even if she lived with Leia a little bit, that's not becoming with the Skywalker vision. She doesn't know enough. She doesn't treat it. How much can you do in a year, And even if we haven't even seen that, we haven't seen much of that. Wait, hang on. So, Brian, before I commit blasphemy, especially on our podcast, how much content for Rey being trained by Luke and Leia is out there other than the novelization of the novels. So for example, I know that in Episode 8, the novelization of Episode 8 is like Rey showing Luke, hey, look what I can do. Like there's a little bit more to the lessons.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more interaction. And in the novelization of Episode 9, I know that there's also a few more interactions with Leia, not intently, not more. Like Leia doesn't give lectures. It's just interaction. It's just expressing concerns, like Rey complaining or expressing concerns that she's not getting it. Sometimes she gets it, sometimes she doesn't, but then she's not getting it as much as she should. And that's it, right?
Right. So
am I missing something?
No. So the only lesson that Luke even tried to teach her,
it makes a big difference.
It does. The only thing Luke ever tried to teach Rey was why she shouldn't be a Jedi. That's what all of his lessons were.
Yeah.
Whereas this is why the Jedi need to die. This is why they need to end. He didn't even teach her. Yeah. He didn't really teach her anything about the Force itself. He didn't. She learned all that from the text that she stole from the tree. That's what she learned all of her stuff from. She didn't learn it from Luke. She learned it from ancient Jedi texts. And then when you get past, Last Jedi, she learned that with Leia's help, but what could Leia have possibly taught her? She only trained for so long. You know what I'm saying? And so the only novel where you get anything, because there was a year between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. There was a year there. Like you said, what could have happened in a year, right? The only novel that's there is Resistance Reborn, and I think Spark of Resistance was a little novel, but Leia wasn't even really big in Spark of Resistance. She was a little bit in Resistance Reborn, but there wasn't a lot of Jedi training there. It was them trying to rebuild the Resistance. Is all that was.
Look, I mean, the only after that, I mean, you're just confirming something that I have in my mind, really. The only thing that makes her a Skywalker is if she was doing what everybody wanted Ben Solo to have done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if the granddaughter or daughter of Palpatine was doing what Kylo Ren was doing, and Ben Solo was doing what Rey was doing, then that would have been cool.
Yeah.
And that would have been in quote unquote in line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With logic, with sense, with whatever. But obviously that's not the story again.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, so no, I mean, if I was to answer the question, Ahsoka is more of a Skywalker than Rey. Absolutely. That doesn't mean Ahsoka is a Skywalker
Right,
either.
right. I completely agree. Completely agree.
Yes.
It's
I'm
just if
sure that
anybody
you
is
would
going to
think
take that
yeah,
name, Ahsoka had more clout to do it.
absolutely more of a right.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi had more of a right to take that name
Yeah.
than Ahsoka or
Yeah.
Rey.
Yeah,
But I mean,
no.
I'm not saying that he should. Just saying, like in general.
Yeah.
It's a really good question, and
It
it is an
is.
emotional question as well. It's a bias. It is from a certain point of view. So,
It is.
but I do want to hear. So wait. So let's also. I'd like to hear this other opinion. Why would somebody go the other way around? Why would somebody say no? Ray's fine. Ray's the Skywalker. That makes sense.
I honestly don't know. The only thing I can think of is her connection with Leia. Because Rey's only connection with Luke was a grumpy old man that refused to train her. So why would she name herself after Luke Skywalker? You know what I mean? Who was this apparently a huge disappointment to the
I know
galaxy.
what you mean.
Like, no, I don't have any. I can't even play devil's advocate. I just can't because it doesn't. I remember when we went and saw that in theaters, there were people like as soon as she's like Rey who, and everybody's like, "Don't say it, don't do it, don't do it," and then she said it, and I heard people. Oh God! Like everybody in my theater was just like, "Are you serious? Like, really?" Leia told you not to be afraid of who you are. Like literally, say Rey Palpatine, own it, just own it. You know, and so it's.
I think. Do you think that we're going to get a novel or comics where Rey, because we know there's a trilogy coming where she's at the epitome of it, or maybe not necessarily the only main character of it, but she's going to be
Grandmaster,
the boss lady. Yeah, the boss lady. Is she going to have? I think she will. We will see a few novels or comics for her being trained by Leia. So much so that Leia is training her, treating her like she is the daughter she never had, like the child, and the way she would have loved to have had a relationship with her son. She would have had this relationship with Leia in that year.
I don't know. Because Leia was so busy trying to rebuild the Resistance. Like, I don't know. And you know, and here's the other thing about the Rey thing also. That it just came to me. Would you agree with me? And somebody out there, comment below and tell me why I'm wrong. Please do. Is it safe to say that there was hardly... I mean, Rey at the end of Episode 9 was basically the same person she was at the beginning of 7. She just knew how to use the Force better, right? She just knew how to use the Force more. She knew her history. That's
you mean like the same principles and the same?
Yeah. Was there any like actual character growth at all, or was she the same character through the entire thing, dealing with different situations?
Okay, so at the end, all throughout Episode 7, she was in her little bubble.
Yeah.
Well, not bubble. She was in her little zone. She kept trying to stay there. She's not a very outgoing person. She's not risk taking. She's not out there trying to find her way in the galaxy.
Right.
But now she is, and that's a primary change. That's a big change. As in,
But did it change her?
She may still be the same person.
But did it
She may
change
still
her?
be the same. Well, no, not necessarily. No,
Yeah.
not necessarily. She's still very honest. She's still very. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good question. It's a good thing to think about. I don't think that she's changed much.
Yeah.
Based on exactly how you just said it, no, I don't think she changed much. But I do think that she may have increased her qualities towards that end. When she actually looks through that sort of mirror, when she goes into that dark side nexus, the Force nexus bit, when she's in Dark Side in Episode 8, and she looks into those mirrors and she doesn't see anyone. So all these questions. So she starts leaving behind the reasons to stand still, and she starts getting those reasons that even like Han Solo would have been like, "You should come with us." Like, I have to get back. Like, oh, that's a shame, you know. And then she's like, "Yeah, it is a shame. Yeah, I would have loved to go on an adventure with you." And now she's erasing all these reasons and she's going on this journey. So there is a character journey, but is there a character growth? Well, you are what you experience, and with any journey, there's some sort of growth. But is she actually different? Well, I mean, we wouldn't know because the writing is just so bland that we don't see much of her
Right.
of her character.
Right.
Character's just we haven't seen much of her character's
We haven't.
well-roundedness.
And that's the problem.
Even when and when you saw her encounter her dark side self in episode 9, just like the concept of her dark side self in episode 9, she wasn't that much shaken by it either. She wasn't like, oh, there's a realization here. She was like, oh, on to the next bit, and then she fights off Kylo Ren and stabs him and then slashes him.
And then goes and exiles herself just like every other Jedi did. And it's like, I don't feel like there was any character growth, there at all. Yes, she went through stuff, but to me, she was the same person standing there watching the twin suns set on Tatooine as she was at the beginning of 7, when Unkar Plutt is saying, how much for the droid? And she's just like, droid's not for sale. And like, she still did the right thing. Like, so I don't feel like there was any, that's the same person she was in episode 9. It's the same decision. The same way she was treating Dio is the same way she was, treating BB-8 after that first night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we're gonna have to see a lot of, Lucas is gonna have to do a lot of rectifying.
Yes. And so I don't,
a lot of filling in gaps.
I don't feel like
writing.
What did she do to earn it? Other than, no Leia for a year, basically. Like what
beats me.
Yeah, I don't feel like so Ahsoka had that, deep interpersonal relationship with Anakin and
an
learned from him.
Interpersonal relationship, an unbelievable learning process and interpersonal relationship.
This ridiculous bond.
To the extent that Thrawn recognizes him in her, he's like, yeah. Like I know what to do here because I've faced your kind, or I've worked with you, or worked with someone similar to you before. Like I know what's gonna happen. I know what's up.
I get why Disney. I know what their reasoning was for giving her the Skywalker name. They wanted to make this idea, for little girls and for kids in general. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can come from a horrible family and you can still be good. Totally get where you're coming from. But I think the stronger message is, had she stayed a nobody, had she just, been a nobody, had she not been a Palpatine or anything like that, I think that would have been the stronger message. It doesn't matter where you come from, good or bad or nobody. You can still be something. I think that is the bigger message, because there's more people out there that are coming from nothing than there are that's coming from bad. Horrible and good are rare. Everything in the middle is very, very common. And I feel like that encapsulates. Encapsulates? Is that the right word?
Encapsulates.
Yeah, that's the right word. I think that, brings everybody, I think the majority of people more to be able to relate to her more. And instead of, looking at just those few kids, few people that come from horrible backgrounds, look at everybody, because that would encompass everybody. It doesn't matter who you come from. Nobody, bad, good, it doesn't matter. You can still be somebody great. And I think that's a stronger message than what they chose to go with the Palpatine thing. But that's just me. I'm not here to bash on Ray Palpatine or Ray Skywalker. I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. I just, if anybody has a right to the Skywalker name, I think, and I never thought about that, but I've never thought of it that way. But I mean, yeah, I think Ahsoka is way more. Now, would she want to take it? No, I know she wouldn't want to take it. There's no way. After everything that happened, there's no way she'd want to take it. But it's a legitimate question.
Look at how Leia still went by General Leia Organa or Senator Leia Organa
instead of taking the Skywalker.
Out of honor, of course, for her adoptive parents.
That's right.
100%. Absolutely, 100%. But also, once it was found out that her father was Anakin Skywalker, who became Darth Vader, and later on, no, she's still Leia Organa.
Yeah, she never took the Skywalker name.
Exactly.
Even Leia didn't take it. Why did Rey?
Exactly.
Why are you letting Rey take it when Leia didn't even take it? So, yeah, no, it's a great question. It's a great question. And we can sit here and talk about it for hours. But the important thing is, what do you guys think? Comment below and let us know why we're wrong. I want to hear why you guys think we're wrong or why you think we're right. Comment below. Start the conversation. If you guys know what I say, keep it civil. Don't start fights. I know Star Wars fans are, especially with stuff like Rey and Skywalker and Palpatine, which I'm probably going to be arguing with somebody here in the next hour on Newsnet Live about. So, keep it civil. That's all I'm asking. So, anything else you want to add, Usef, before we call it a night?
raise this question on Newsnet. I'd like to hear
Okay.
the opposite side of this argument. I would. I really, really would.
I'll bring it up. I'll find a place to bring it up because I know we're going to be talking about Ahsoka and the
Okay.
finale, but I'll see if I can find a place to squeeze it in there because
All right, because it's a good one.
and the guy
it is a very good
and
question.
Paul's going to be on the night, and he is a huge advocate for Rey Skywalker. He adores the fact that she took the name Skywalker. He'll defend it. He'll die on that hill, and so
I really want to hear his argument.
I'm anxious to-
I genuinely do. Like really interested.
yeah, I'll see if I can find some time to squeeze it in there. And if not, I'll still try to record it so I can show it to you afterwards, and you can get some behind the scenes stuff. So, if you haven't got anything else, man,
No,
I think we'll call it a week.
Honestly, really excited. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to speak to you in the next coming weeks, so we can talk about some more upcoming canon, have some other questions,
Yes.
mailbag, and keep on going with the villain bracket.
Yes.
We're gonna enjoy a good fall and going into the winter here because we've got
Absolutely.
some canon coming up.
you got some what?
I am now. So we've got some good canon coming.
Oh,
up.
yeah,
And
we
now
do.
Now that I've finished the Ahsoka series, I've got a couple of books to finish off, and I'm going to start off on the Thrawn series. I'm really excited. I'm going to audiobook them because I still can't find the novel somewhere. So I'm going to the UK, traveling to the UK to London for next week. I've got a trip there at work. It's not all play, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to try to go to Wales and meet up with Richard J.
Oh, yeah.
actually, but
Yeah.
wouldn't have, unfortunately, can't seem to find the time. I'll figure it out. Because trains are so damn expensive as well.
Yeah.
But it's not just that, it's the time. So like taking a train from London to Cardiff in Wales will be a few hours and then have to it's not like a day trip. I can't like go in the morning and come back in the evening.
Right.
Because of the schedule of the trains. So I'll figure it out. I'll try to do it. And if not, then not sure.
I think that'd
Richard
be
and I are just
awesome.
talking about this back and forth.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing. It'd be amazing if we could record as well from there.
Oh,
Me
man.
and Richard with you.
So
That'd
cool.
be amazing, wouldn't that?
What'd be cool is
Yeah.
if we could do that all together at once. Like, all three of us meet up. That'd be
Get yourself
so
on
cool.
a plane to London.
Oh, my God.
And then he'll come over, and then, yeah.
Oh, my God. That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool, dude. That'd be awesome. Get everybody in the same room together. But maybe someday we'll get there. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
But all right, well, if you don't have anything else, then I think we're going to sign off for the week. Thank you guys for tuning in with us and talking Ahsoka. Remember, let us know below what you guys thought of this series, of the finale. And like I said, keep it civil. Remember, if you guys want to get a question on the Star Wars Canon Podcast, you can email it to us at starwarscanonpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to check out our website, starwarscanon.net. Definitely head over there and let us know what you think of the website so far. I'm trying to set it up to where when it's on mobile, it's almost like the mobile app. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to do the double thing, trying to get 2 for 1 out of my money's worth. So definitely head over there and check that out. So guys, until next week, this is Brian signing off along with my Wookiee co-pilot Usef. Give us a good Wookiee growl, man.
Oh, no, I'm too tired.
I'll do it. I got you. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you guys next week. You've just been listening to the latest episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast. I'm Brian Miller, joined by my co-host Usef Waly. You can stream new episodes of the podcast every Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/1138productions. Be sure to like and subscribe on whichever platform you're listening in on. If you'd like to get a question on the show, you can send it in to us at starwarscanonpodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, keep it civil, and may the Force be with you.